to take that?
I'll go to it.
Okay. Wow. I don't know about all those things she was talking about, but I do have some basic comments that I need to react to, I guess, before we get started. One, you were talking about the university, and I came in 1951. I forget what year it was. I graduated in 53 from high school, and I was here visiting with Joe Cogdell, who was the track coach at that time, and my dad brought me over here to look at university. But I didn't come here my freshman year. I went to Beloit, and I thought I wanted to play basketball at Beloit, and so I was there. And we came over to ISU my second year. I took foreign language my first year. And I was not a foreign language major, and so I'm not sure who took who, but I decided to come to ISU where you didn't have to take a foreign language. And so my year was 1954, and I came over and I got a place to live in the barracks. And the barracks was where Turner Hall is today. And there were about 80 of us. Jim, would you ever live over there? I'm not sure. But there were about 80 of us that lived over in the barracks, and a bunch of guys, most of them were veterans. And so they had GI Bill, and that made them have money. And so as a sophomore, I wasn't 21 yet, but they had money. And so living in the barracks is $4 a week. And my dad gave me $4 a week, and he said, go to college, and you can do this. Get a job for your meals, and then you have a state scholarship, because every county had all kinds of teacher-ed scholarships, and I got one of those. And so my real expenses were paying some money to those guys and and going to school or eating, and that was about it. And so it didn't cost much to come at that time, and I don't really remember taking a test to get in. So some of those numbers you threw out a while ago, well, they wouldn't fit me, I don't think, at all. So it would be a little difficult to do that. I do appreciate the remarks, and congratulations to you and to President Watkins back over here someplace. Where'd you go? Okay, to you too. You were one of my bosses when I was here. Dr. Bone was one of my bosses, one of my first boss. And but thanks, Barb, for the comments. And Barb and I worked together for a long time, and we worked under Fred Hansen. I was under Fred. She was under. Fred was development director, and Fred had a special name for her, pet name, and I promised her I would not tell what that is at this time. But she has a lot of my respect for the job that she's done here at the university, and to maintain what she does and the enthusiasm she had. I'm honored to get the Burton Mercier Award, and with Tom and Mary Jo back here, they know more stories than I do, but I've got a lot. And Bert was really a friend of mine when he was graduated in 1950. And some of you don't know, or don't remember, but in 1950 we had a good football team. And we won the conference. He was not a member of that, but everybody rallied around that conference football championship. And so Bert was one of those people, plus Bert lived on campus. He was one of the few people that permanently lived on campus. His dad ran the farm. And so there wasn't any question about where he was going to school, but of course he just went across the street. And he was still on campus, so he never left home to go to campus. That was it. But one of the things that happened was that Bert and I would run into each other for coffee. And one morning in January of 1994, Bert and I ran into each other for coffee at Times Past. And so after we were there, he said, I got to go shovel some snow for somebody. And I said, I got to go do whatever I was doing. And Bert went to shovel snow. And I think it was at a church lot, at the Presbyterian church, no, Christian church downtown. And I was the last guy to have coffee with Bert. He died that day. And Fred Mills, Lois's husband, I think had a heart attack the same day. And they were in the hospital at the same time, and the doctor came out and said, we lost him. And and they lost Bert, but not Fred. And so Bert, I'm the last guy to have coffee with him, and now the last one to get an award from him. So it's kind of interesting. Whether it's a good story or not, I'm not sure. But Bert, after I came back to campus, one of the things I always wanted to do was to work at the university when I was going to school here. And one of the jobs that I thought was the best one on campus was the placement office. And Dr. Gibson, who was the placement director, had that job, and I said, and I told him in a class one day that he had the best job on campus. And he was telling me, because I took school and community relations on how to be a good teacher. And so one of the things he told me that I should remember was, who's the most important person in town? And so we guessed all these people, and he said, no, you haven't got it. It's the school janitor. Get along with the school janitor, and you'll get along. Well, my first job of teaching, I was a principal of a grade school by accident. My parents were both teachers. The school board said, your parents are teachers, you can handle it. And so I was a principal and 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher. And so one day, the janitor and I were talking at recess, and this lady goes by in a car, and I said, who's that? And he was telling me everybody in town. And he said, oh, that's the lady that ran the principal off last year. Wow. And so I had her daughter in class, and I started collecting all her material. And before the grades came out the first time, well, she came in like I thought she was going to. And I said, Patty's in love with Elmer. Elmer's in the 8th grade, and Patty's in the 6th grade, and they're in love. And I said, Elmer goes like this, and Patty goes, oh, gee, she just dies. And so I never had a problem with the mother after that, and I didn't get fired, so everything worked out real well. But during that time, Bert, when I knew him, I was back in the alumni office, and he got on the board of directors with Leroy Knoll and Don Schroeder, who both were here on campus. And so that was part of my board to work with. But I need to tell you just a little bit about the Alumni Association prior to that time. So here we are, it's 1965. The alumni job is open. I'm in New York working. Sharon and I are in New York working, and we see that Francis Wade had left the alumni office, and it was open. So I contacted Jim Fisher on campus, and I said, is the job still open? He said, maybe. And I said, well, I'm not sure. And he said, well, we're interviewing Saturday, and we've got it down to 2 people, and we might select those 2. I'm not sure. I said, I'll call you Monday. So I called from New York on Monday, and I said, is the job open? He said, be here Saturday. You got an interview. And so I walked in on Saturday, and I had an interview with Dr. Gibson and about 8 other faculty members. And Dr. Gibson led the interview, and he gave me the questions, and then he gave me all the answers. And so I didn't have much of an interview, but it turned out pretty positive. So the next week, I called Dr. Jim Fisher, and I said, I'm really interested in working on campus after being a principal for a while and being out there. And so he said, Dr. Bone wants to talk to you. And so Dr. Bone got on the phone, and he said, you got the job. And I was excited about doing that. Coming back to campus and being alumni director. But at that time, the alums were primarily women, because prior to the war, there were not very many men on campus. And those what did come to campus were pretty lucky, because it's about 6 to 1. And that's not a bad deal. I thought of that when I came too, that it kind of help out. The ratio fit me pretty well. And sometimes you could find a date, and that would work out okay. But anyhow, I worked for Dr. Bone and Dr. Gibson and Jim Fisher. And thinking that era, I used to have alumni meetings in church basements. And so one day I gave my secretary a letter, and I said to this guy, I'll see you after the meeting, and we'll have a big orange. And my secretary was a very religious missionary lady that came back to campus as a secretary. And so she came back in the office, and she said, I've been writing this letter, I had it in shorthand, and I'm writing this letter, and it says, I'm going to have a big orange with you. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, just write big orange, that's okay. I said, I'm going to have a beer with the guy after the meeting. And she said, but you go to church basements to have these meetings. And I said, well, I have to go downtown, I guess, at that stage. So I did that. But the Alumni Association was pretty dry, if you can imagine. Because only the Catholic churches serve beer in the basements. And that's where we had our meetings. But anyhow, thinking of Dr. Bone and one of my mentors, my dad was a mentor of me. He said, you've got to work. And so I did that all the time in my life. And then Dr. Bone became a mentor of mine as I was here. And really thinking 1957 to 1967, he was at the right place at the right time and the right guy. He just was the right person. And he liked everybody. He was very enthusiastic. I guess I go on and think that the best investment we make is in people, with people, and for people. And so whatever can make them work, we should try to do more of that all the time. And whatever we're going along, and John Maitland did that very well in his job. As we go down and look at what's happened to us, we were fortunate to be here. The university was great to Sharon and I as students and alums, and we both worked here on campus. After being alumni at 3 years, I went over to the placement office, the job that I thought was the best one on campus, and it was for me. And I had a chance to work with, the university had changed at that time. Gene talked about 1964, the name change. We were all teachers prior to that time. We did not allow businesses to come to campus to recruit. And so part of my job was to talk employers into coming here out of business and industry. And one quick story is that we were in Chicago one night with the accounting department, and it was a little state awards meeting. And they announced who got the gold medal in accounting that year and all this. And the last guy to walk, or one of the early guys to walk across the stage, was a guy from Manier named Schmidtko. And he was the gold medal award winner. And when he walked across the stage, you could see all the employers in the audience say, where was he from? Not the University of Illinois, not DePaul, not Michigan, but Illinois what? And so it was Illinois State when he got that award, and that really helped change what happened with us and the recruiters from accounting. We had all the big 8 firms came in here regularly, and that was great for us. But the community has been good to us. I had the opportunity, as she said, to serve on the town council. Maybe too long, but the town of Normal has gone great over the years, and it's been good for us. It's been good for our kids who have been raised here and are with us tonight. My daughter, Julie, is a nurse in Chicago. Scott's an executive in New York with an insurance firm, and Mark is selling insurance in Minneapolis. And his 2 kids and wife couldn't come because they got school to go to. And so we recommended that they stay home. But also in retirement, I've had a good time. It's been fun to deal with people on a regular basis. I did that when I was in the placement office, to go out and talk employers into hiring our graduates, talking to the graduates on a regular basis, and so many of the doctoral students, and on how to change jobs and where to get a better job, and what to do it and how to do it. And we had a great connection with all the people in our office to do that. So that was one of the things to do. And recently I've been, just a quick update is, we're in Venice, Florida for the winter. And when we got down there on January the 17th, the earthquake had just hit Haiti. And so I went over to work at the airport in Venice. And Venice Airport is kind of noted. I don't know if you remember what happened there. They trained the pilots that ran into in New York. They trained the people how to take off. They didn't train them how to land. And so, but at that airport, which is calmed down now, they have what's called agape flights. And they take missionaries from Venice, Florida, to Dominican Republic, Haiti, and all these other. And so since January the 17th, I've been there at this warehouse. One day I was a peanut man boxer. I boxed up peanut butter, I should say. Then the next day I do Band-Aids, and so we collect things, Band-Aids, put them together, and then they band them and send them on either by boat or by plane over there. And so there's about 30 of us that are in there. And the interesting thing, the other day I told the director, I said, you got 2 jobs to do. And you hear the peanut man telling him that he's got 2 jobs to do. And I said, one of them is we're all volunteers, and you need to thank us. And the other is you need to tell us what happens to the peanut butter after I box it. And so he stopped at noon hour, and he said, just a second, everybody, and he got on a loudspeaker, and he said, I want to tell you what's happening. And he told us about thanking everybody, first of all, for coming. And afterwards, he told us what happened to the peanut butter and how it was going to get out and how it was going to get to Haiti. And afterwards, he walked by me and he said, how'd I do, Coach? And so I said very well that he did that. But I too need to congratulate the other award winners, and especially Dick and Jean. Jean and I go back a long way. So when we tried to date the same girl a few times, and with a 6-to-1, why do you dating the same girl? But he wanted to do that. And then one night we were in basketball practice, and Gene's mouth got a little bit too close to my elbow. And he lost 2 of his front teeth in that situation. Then he's noted for one other major thing it's international, I guess, what he's noted for. That when he was playing, as he said, he'd like to shoot. And so in the state of Illinois and others along the roads, they have a sign for him. No pass. Now, who else do you know that's an alum that has that many signs all around the road for no pass? And so he did that on a regular basis. He didn't pass, and we were kidding about playing over Western one night, and he scored 32 points before the 3-point play come into play. And they were all from way out, and fortunately we beat Western when we were over there, and we were the last team in 2 years to beat them at Western. So we were known for that. So congratulations to you two and to John for the award, and your wife for the same. And I need to thank the Alumni Association. I need to thank the university for hiring me. And too late for Dr. Bone, he can't hear that. And for Bert being on his last day, the last guy to have coffee with him. And so I'm really honored to accept this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next award is the Alumni Achievement Award, and is presented to those individuals demonstrating significant accomplishments and achievements in their chosen field or avocation. This is evaluated by national or international recognition, honors from associations or employers, or documentation illustrating work which has proven beneficial to a pronounced segment of society. Tonight we have an exemplary recipient of the Alumni Achievement Award. To speak about the accomplishments of our high-achieving recipient are 2 young men who seem to know this individual very well. Please help me welcome the sons of our Achievement Award winner, Brent and Justin Bird.
Thank you very much. Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our mom to you tonight. Growing up, we've had the best pleasure having a mom like her. I do not know of anyone in this world that works as hard as our mom, and is still able to put her family and friends first. No matter how successful our mom has always been, I always knew that she would put us first. Whether it was attending a sports event to helping me edit a paper, I always knew that she would always put us first. She has always taught us to treat others how you want to be treated and to put others before you. I do not know of anyone other than my mom who deserves this award more than her tonight.
Good evening. What makes someone an inspiration? Is it how successful they are? How much money they make? A fancy job title? I've always had that one inspirational person in my life, showing me that if I work hard, good things will happen. She truly is a remarkable woman. She has shown me strengths in ways that no one else could, whether it be winning her fight against cancer a few years back or holding down a high-level corporate job as a single mother of 2 boys. I know we probably weren't the easiest. Not a day has gone by without her going out of her way to put others first, myself and family included. We are all so proud of her and of all she's accomplished. Some call her an inspiration, but I know her best as mom. I would like to welcome to the stage Ms. Connie Fako-Shoemake, ISU, class of 1977. Connie Shoemake.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to personally thank the Board of Trustees, President Bowman, and the University Association for this tremendous award. I am also very personally thankful to the selection team for selecting me for this award this evening. Also, I'd like to thank those individuals who came here tonight to be here with me. My extended family, my husband, my children, Sarah and Jeremy, who are also here with us. My dear friends, Terry and Joanne, ISU alums. Joanne was the first president of Tri Delta here on campus, and it was quite an honor for me to be part of that. As well as Betty Davy, who just left. She actually nominated me for this. And my mother, who came from Florida to be at the event. In September of 1973, my mother and I drove over from Galesburg, Illinois, to move me into 315 Hewitt Hall. My 4 years at Illinois State proved to be an adventure that would shape my life and my career. Needing to find a part-time job, I think some of us here talked about the fact that we had to work in college, I found a position in Hovey Hall as a student helper in the Office of Affirmative Action. It was called Affirmative Action in those days. And Dr. Dorothy Carrington was the woman who chaired the Affirmative Action Department. I had the pleasure to work all 4 years as a student helper in that office. While working at 401 Hovey Hall, I learned many things about basic office skills that later I would need in the business world, like filing, delegating. My family says I delegate way too much. And most importantly, the individual who really runs the president's calendar is the administrative assistant. One lesson I learned in the business world that I kept with me all the time. But certainly the one thing that really changed my life and the lesson I learned working in Hovey Hall was the affirmative action left the impression on me that equal rights for all individuals, regardless of race, gender, class, physical challenges, or sexual preference, is important. My sophomore year, as I mentioned, I joined the Tri Delta sorority and I learned all kinds of different things. Being in a house with lots of women, we shared that our first house, there were 22 girls and 2 bathrooms. You can imagine what it was on formal night when we all took turns signing up for when we were going to get to use the bathroom. My junior year, I had the opportunity to be part of Sam Mungo's Urban Education Program. In that program, for 9 weeks, we lived in Peoria, Illinois, and I taught in various agencies in the city. It was during that time that I developed my passion around lifelong learning. And I realized at that point how education, or some kind of trained or skilled learning, was important for everyone. Working with Skid Row alcoholics in the morning and teaching GED classes at a heroin clinic in the afternoon, I learned the importance of learning and that education is critical for everyone's success. It was during this experience that I came to understand that every person, regardless of their situation, needed to feel the pride of success. Whatever success was to that individual. And it was that experience that taught me the compassion to listen, observe carefully, and to try never to make assumptions about someone without being in their shoes first. In the business world, this skill has helped me to remember that my role in the business world is to be no other than a mentor and to help a client in a situation. That education is a tool, and that learning comes in many, many forms and experiences. And I understood the great opportunity I was given to attend a fine university like Illinois State University. And I learned that my God-given gifts allowed me to do things that I wanted to do. So many people today have said, I thought you got your degree in special education. In August of 1981, I had just finished my master's degree, and I was at a party. And the woman that I was at the party with was a teacher with mine, and she had just gotten a job as a typewriter saleswoman for IBM. And she said to me, you know, IBM is starting this group called Data Processing Division. And they're looking for people who know how to teach. Would you be interested in going over? So I'm a little feisty. So I went up the stairs of IBM, I applied, and 6 weeks later, I left the education field to teach in a very different education field in business. However, in this new position, I was hired to be a systems engineer, which meant my job was to teach. And I eventually taught clients about things around information technology and computer solving skills. Instead of writing lesson plans, I was now writing management plans. IDPs became project manager terms, and return on investment was a term that I learned that I didn't necessarily know in the past. But I will tell you that these skills that I learned at Illinois State as a teacher were those exact same skills that allowed me to become an executive at the IBM Corporation. It was listening, observing, problem solving, skills in communication, the exact same skills that you use when you're working with a child and you're trying to really understand what they need or what they want. In 2005, I was offered the position of Vice President of Public Sector. I had come home. I was back in education. I would work with an industry of government, education, and healthcare. And for me, that was full circle. The last year, I've had the opportunity to work with President Obama's economic stimulus program, understanding how our dollars will be reinvested into the company and into the future. So that's given me a chance. I have been blessed these past 29 years to have numerous opportunities because of the things that I learned here at this university. I've been allowed to work across North and South America. I've had the opportunity to do technical, sales, marketing, several lines of business, and management. Always having the opportunity to use my college degree here at Illinois State as the foundation for my roles and the opportunity for me to continue to support my passion around lifelong learning. Mentoring the next set of young leaders, working side by side with our clients, creating a smarter planet where technology will allow educators to teach and for students to learn in ways we yet have to imagine. Students will collaborate across the world in virtual classrooms. Cloud computing will allow people to learn anything, anywhere. From cradle to grave, learning will never end, and everyone will have a chance to succeed and to be proud of who they are and what they can become. I would like to once again thank the university for this prestigious award. I am extraordinarily honored, for this is one of the greatest honors I have ever received. I am very proud to be a Redbird and an ISU grad, and I appreciate the faculty, administration, and staff that allowed me to come to this fine university. Those of you who are here every single day change a life every single moment. In conclusion, I would like to share with you a quote that I have kept with me from the time I went into the business world. It speaks to me in what I believe today so sincerely, and what was nurtured in me the day I stepped onto Illinois State in 1973. A leader acts with little motion and instructs not with words, but with deeds. Keeps informed, but seldom interferes. A leader is a teacher who succeeds without taking credit, and because credit is not taken, credit is received. Thank you.
And we have one more. I have one more to announce to you. We were so pleased this year to have a second exemplary person who is the recipient of the Alumni Achievement Award. And here to present this award is a longtime employee and friend of the College of Fine Arts, Dr. Don Pass.
Thank you. Tom Irwin, a Peoria native, came to ISU in 1974. He was an acting student during one of the several golden eras that the School of Theater, then known as the Department of Theater, has enjoyed in its 39-year history as a department. I became acquainted with Tom when he was a student in 3 of my directing classes. However, it was having the opportunity to direct Tom in several productions that made me an unabashed fan of Tom Irwin. Tom and I first worked together on a production called The Man Who Came to Dinner, my first main stage directing assignment at ISU. The show featured 3 of Tom's future colleagues at Steppenwolf Theater, Alan Wilder, Laurie Metcalf, and John Malkovich. 4 members of Steppenwolf Ensemble in one production. I was quite blessed. 2 years later, I had the honor of directing Tom in the role of Martin Dysart in Peter Schaffer's Equus. Tom was a senior, and he competed for the role with 2 talented and seasoned faculty actors, as well as a number of graduate actors from our Master of Fine Arts acting program. Tom's performance as Dysart was the most engaging and riveting performance by an actor in a college production that I've experienced in my 37-year career. Although only a college senior, he held the audience in the palm of his hand. Tom was also a member of our first 2 Illinois Shakespeare Festival acting companies. In those first 2 years, he was the festival's first Hamlet, Macbeth, and Malvolio. Quite a remarkable achievement for a young actor. His performances helped to jumpstart the festival's amazing development that has resulted in the festival being ranked today as one of the country's 10 best Shakespearean festivals. After graduation in 1979, Tom moved to Chicago and became a member of the fledgling Steppenwolf Theater Company, which had just moved into its first Chicago home after starting in a church basement in Highland Park. Made up predominantly with Illinois State University trained actors, Steppenwolf Theater has developed into the most honored and significant American theater company of the last 30 years. Tom has acted in or directed more than 50 plays at Steppenwolf Theater. Tom has also performed on Broadway, off-Broadway, and regional theaters such as the Williamsburg Theater Festival, and internationally at the Sydney and Perth, Australia festivals, the Royal National Theatre of London, and the Wyndham Theatre in London opposite Madonna. His film credits, among his many film credits, include Midnight Run, Mr. Jones, and 21 Grams. On television, he was a regular in My Life and Times and on the critically acclaimed My So-Called Life. Other television credits included guest performances on such shows as Lost, 24, The Closer, Judging Amy, and many, many others. Tom is currently on the TNT series Saving Grace with Holly Hunter. Tom has served on the faculty at DePaul University and Columbia College in Chicago, and is co-founder and currently teaches with Steppenwolf Classes West in Los Angeles. Tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a recipient of the 2010 Alumni Achievement Award, Tom Irwin.
Thank you, John. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. You're doing it?
Oh, no, I'll leave it with you.
Thanks. Standing up in front of a group this size is a little weird. I'm normally in character and getting paid for it. So standing up here as myself for free, with all due respect, is a little less comfortable. When I reflect back on my time at ISU, I have to acknowledge the woman who was my mentor, Dr. Jean Scharfenberg. She was that teacher, and many of you may have had one, you know, that teacher that changed your life. She dramatically changed my life and gave me a whole new world perspective. She was a bigger-than-life character with an infectious passion for life, for the art and craft of acting, for the actor's responsibility to the truth and empathy of their characters. She introduced the concept, as strange as it may seem, of acting as a noble profession, as a profession that had a responsibility to society, as Hamlet said, to hold a mirror up to nature. And in her beginning acting class, I learned a language. I learned the language of an actor, how to create a role. What does your character want that moves the action forward? What stands in the character's way? That's the obstacle. That creates drama. How do you get around that obstacle? That's suspense. Imagination to see the world through your character's eyes, and empathy to be an advocate for your character, whether they're the good guy or the bad guy. I heard that almost every day for 5 years. What do you want? What are your obstacles? Imagination and empathy. And the more I worked on the characters, the more I had to ask those questions of myself. I grew as a human because and through the characters I was trying to play. But Jean wasn't the only one. It was an amazing faculty. It was volatile. It was exciting. It was passionate. People like Don Lacasse, Michael Berkson, Al Goldfarb. Al was my theater history teacher. He had that gift that many great actors have. He was a great storyteller. He made theater history alive. He took what I was doing in acting class and gave it a perspective. And here's an example of where it all became clear to me just how lucky I was. Steppenwolf took our production of The Grapes of Wrath to the National Theater. And on our closing night, after a sold-out run with screaming, standing ovations every night, in the top of a lot of theaters, there can often be a large bin that runs from one side of the theater to the other, one side of the stage to the other, and it's up in the rafters. And it's like, they put like fake snow in there, right? And they can shake it. and it'll snow, you know, whatever scene you need snowing. Well, the staff of the National filled that huge bin with rose petals. And on our closing night at the National, on the stage that Olivier performed on, in a city that is the birthplace in the heart of English-speaking theater, they sprinkled rose petals on our final bow. And after the performance, Vanessa Redgrave invited the cast. She threw a reception for us on the stage of the Royal Haymarket Theater, which was built in 1720. Al will be proud of that. And as I stood on that stage and I was sipping champagne and standing next to Vanessa Redgrave and I looked out over the seats, you could feel the ghosts in that building. The building was alive. And I was taken by the significance of the moment. It was profound for me. The sense of history, the sense of being part of that history. I was proud of what Steppenwolf had accomplished. I was proud of what I did for a profession. And I took a moment to silently thank Jean and Al and the rest of the faculty. And I thought, it's my education. It was my education. It was a lot of gifted people who have the love and flair of teaching that has given me the perspective to know why this moment was so significant. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank them.
Thank you, Tom, and congratulations. And now for our final category this evening, the Outstanding Young Alumni Award. This award recognizes the contributions of outstanding alumni with significant accomplishments in their chosen field or avocation. This may be measured by favorable statewide, national, or international recognition, honors from associations or employers, or documentation illustrating work which has proven beneficial to a pronounced segment of society. This award is given to an individual 40 years of age or younger, and I can tell you it is exciting to see the amazing work that our young alumni from Illinois State University are doing. Here to introduce our last recipient of the Outstanding Young Alumni Award is a young alum herself, a 2009 graduate of the College of Business, whose internship turned into a full-time job after graduation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium Ms. Kelly Pryble.
Thank you. I wanted to give you all a little bit of history on the person I'm going to introduce. After graduating from ISU in 2003, Joe continued to grow and expand his painting business. After the Amazing Race struck inspiration in 2007, Joe hosted the first Great Urban Race event in Chicago. Once he realized this could be a fun and successful business, he sold his painting company and all of its assets to put on 7 more races by the end of that year. In 2008, with the support of a strong fan following, Joe launched a series of 20 Great Urban Races around the country, ending the year with the national championship race. In early 2008, Joe returned to his alma mater seeking interns to help plan some of those 20 events. This is where I first met Joe. By the end of 2008, Joe got an 800 square foot office in Chicago for himself and the 2 interns we had at the time. The company was officially growing, ending 2008 with 3 employees and nearly 8,000 participants. In 2009, Joe launched a series of 21 Great Urban Race events, adding Normal, Illinois into the mix. A new event, Warrior Dash, was also born in 2009 with our first ever event in Joliet that sold out with 2,000 participants. Seeing that new events were going to be created within the upcoming years, the title of our company, Red Frog Events, was established. Joe ended 2009 with 7 employees, nearly 14,000 participants, and we finally moved into a 2,500 square foot office. This brings us to 2010. This year, Red Frog Events has already experienced exponential growth. With 24 Great Urban Race events, 9 Warrior Dash events on the schedule, the company will see over 150,000 participants this year and a growing staff of already 21 employees. Pretty inspirational knowing the company started just over 3 years ago in Joe's apartment with a staff of 1. I've never met anyone with an entrepreneurial mindset quite like Joe. Joe not only has a can-do attitude, he has a can-do-better attitude that allows the company to soar beyond its competition. I describe him to friends and family as the most humble genius I've ever met. He works extremely hard. In fact, for a while, I had never seen him leave the office. I really thought he lived there. On top of all this, Joe believes in giving back to the community, partnering with charities for every event. He makes his company and his employees a priority. It is truly a pleasure. It's truly a great place to work and a pleasure to work for him. It's an environment unlike anything else. For example, every wall is painted a different color, there's a foosball table in the middle of the office, and employees have unlimited vacation days. Sorry to brag. We take field trips regularly, the fridge is always stocked with Red Bull, and the dress code is jeans and flip-flops. Sorry again. The office is known as the Idea Factory, where old ideas are fine-tuned and new ideas are born. His creativity, innovation, and dedication, all of this started by an ISU alumni. So without further ado, tonight it is my pleasure to introduce to you the recipient of the 2010 Outstanding Young Alumni Award, Joseph Reynolds.
Wow, I'm in great company tonight. It's pretty neat being here. We have a senator in the room and Dr. Bowman, and I have a federal judge making me laugh at my table, and I'm just trying to figure out how to keep this sticker on my coat. I'm really honored to be here tonight. A few months ago, Gina called me and told me I was going to win this award. And I felt honored, but to be perfectly honest, I didn't know what the award was, so when I hung up, I Googled it. And I saw that Neil Kotz from the Chicago Cubs won it recently, so then I felt incredibly honored to win this award. It was only 7 years ago when I was on campus here, huddled around a keg trying to get my share of beer. It has not been long. It was 6 years ago when I read a book from, just ironically, another ISU alum about his world travels. And then I also took a geography class one of my last semesters at ISU. And that really fueled a passion for travel for me. So I left and I traveled around Europe and North Africa for 4 months 6 years ago. And that really began to shape who I am today and really fueled further my passion that I have for travel. So 5 years ago, as Kelly mentioned, I had a house painting company at the time, and that was growing, and I was juggling all the responsibilities that go along with having a growing small business. So 4 years ago, I took a multi-month adventure in Southeast Asia and continued my love for travel while maintaining my house painting company during the prime season. 3 years ago, I took a trip from Guatemala to Argentina. Again, all of this just stemmed from a book I read from an ISU alum and the geography class I took while here at ISU. So all these travels, along with my experience with the house painting company, prepped me to launch the company that Kelly mentioned earlier called the Great Urban Race, which is basically a wacky urban adventure kind of modeled after the TV show The Amazing Race. And the idea caught, and it started to take off. And as Kelly mentioned, it started with only a few of us, and over the last couple of years, it's been a fun, wild ride, and we have grown into a pretty unique and fun company that I take a lot of pride in. all these experiences I've had over the last 7 years since I left ISU, I credit to my incredible experience that I had here and my loving and supportive parents. I had a wonderful experience also at ISU's entrepreneurship and small business management program that taught me a lot of the skills it took to launch and have the courage to launch my first business, the house painting company. And then after I gained some skills with that company, turning that into the Great Urban Race. During my time here, I also spent all 8 semesters in an organization called Delta Sigma Pi, which is a professional co-ed business fraternity. And I was really involved, and I served as president in that organization. And I credit a lot to my time there and what I learned in Delta Sigma Pi. I'm really proud to be a Redbird. I'm really proud to be here tonight in this, with this incredible group of people. Tom Irwin just talked, and he's in one of my favorite movies, 21 Grams. That's really cool. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this award.
Thank you, Joe, and congratulations. As you have seen this evening, the selection committees have once again chosen a group of alumni who represent the positive characteristics we cherish here at ISU and who have truly impacted society for the better. Let's give them one more round of applause. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our Vice President of University Advancement, Dr. Diane Ashby.
Wow, well, it's a pleasure to begin to wrap up what's been an incredible day and an incredible evening. We listened to some wonderful, inspiring, exciting stories tonight of great lives, of different lengths and different experiences, and all of them inspirational. These are all individuals who started their journey on this great campus, and by telling their stories and sharing their stories with us are also increasing the story and the ever-growing legacy of Illinois State University. Thank you, Dick, Jean, Parker, Connie, Tom, and Joe for sharing your stories with us and for the contributions that you make to society, to your community, and to this campus community. Thank you very much. Now, given my role at Illinois State University, you know it's hard to get out of the room without my talking about money and giving back. But Gene Jontry did that for me. And so I want to recognize Gene Jontry because he carries a distinction he didn't share with you, and he may not even know he has it. He is the alum with the most years of consecutive giving to Illinois State University, 41 years. Thank you, Gene. I hope you take home with you tonight warm memories of this day, and I hope that all of our guests here and all of the guests and those who came to support the guests will continue your connection with Illinois State University. I hope that you keep up to date with the great things happening at our great university and that you will continue to tell the story of your alma mater to others. It's your stories that help us grow and help us bring in all the wonderful new talented students that we heard about and that we saw in the stories of some of our young alumni. And we want to be of service to you, but we want to be more than that. We want to be part of your family. We hope that you will keep us close. Working at Illinois State University for 18 years, I've come to understand that it is about the relationships and it is about the family here. We're surrounded by this fabulous new alumni center that was built about 18 months ago, hoping to help our alumni understand how important alumni support is to Illinois State University, and it's wonderful to be part of being able to host you here tonight. Congratulations again to each of our wonderful recipients tonight, to their families and to their friends who support them. Thanks so much for supporting Illinois State University, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Gary, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashby. This has been a wonderful evening filled with great stories and wonderful examples of individuals who have made Illinois State a great place to call home. I would encourage those of you in attendance to please consider nominating friends, colleagues, and other fellow alumni for future consideration for our awards programs. If you have questions or would like more information, please talk to one of our Alumni Association board members, or grab a brochure from the back of the room, or visit the awards page online. I also want to take a moment to thank the Alumni Relations staff and the board volunteers who served on the selection committees for their hard work in making this evening possible. Let's give them a round of applause. Before we close our program tonight, I want to take a moment to share with you the Alumni Association's latest project, the Illinois State University Alumni Association's Scholarships Program. The Alumni Association leadership has committed to building a $1 million alumni endowment to fund multiple $2,000 renewable scholarships for deserving students at Illinois State. The program will help fund incoming freshmen, current students, and transfer students from community colleges and other universities. Our goal is to help ease students' financial obligations so that they can focus on what's important: education. The first $2,000 scholarship will be awarded in April for fall of 2010. Now, it takes $50,000 to fund a $2,000 annual scholarship on an ongoing basis. We have more than 180,000 living alumni in every state in the Union and in dozens of countries worldwide. If each of our current alumni donated just $10, we would raise well over $1 million, providing scholarships to at least 20 deserving students into perpetuity. Every donation, no matter how small, can make a difference in a student's opportunity to learn at Illinois State. I want to personally thank those of you who included a gift to the Alumni Association Scholarship as you registered for tonight's dinner. We appreciate your donation. That donation will help us ensure Illinois State University's tradition of excellence and opportunity for current and for future students. Students who will accomplish great things, like the individuals we recognized here tonight, and perhaps become future Alumni Award recipients. So thank you all for joining us for a memorable evening. Please travel home safely and come back and see us again soon. Good night.